Good day for you, my comrades. Well, today we are gonna talk about pretty interesting piece of gear and some other two pedals. While from the sides we have green one and a foot switch. They are plugged right into an amp. To get the right side of my speech, first of all, I have checked the focus of my camera. For the second one, I took the mic and put it right to my mouth. Also, I have ordered a special finger from AliExpress.com. This is the finger of a Tsar Ivan the Pussy. So today we are gonna talk with you about BJdevices pedal. This is a Loop X2. It's a small device, small box. Could save your budget of buying you a new amp or any kind of gear. What I mean, if you have an amp like this, some kind of dusty, in a modern digital life it is not necessary to get it from day to day, and it has an FX loop. If you don't know what the hell is FX loop, this is a point right in between of amp's preamp that creates gain and a power amp. Power amp is an amp that loads the speakers. So if you don't want to burn your pedal, it's a pretty wise idea to send a special low-level signal that it's like millivolts we are talking about. So after that, everything is going back right to an amp, and then comes to the speaker. Imagine that you have an amp that you desired, or you are in a place where trying to have a gig, and there's any kind of an amp that has FX loop, and you're like, oh, whoa, they got my rider. I have an FX loop today, but, well, it's really uncommon that FX loop can be controlled from your foot switch. So in other words, if I have a pedal like a reverb or delay, so today, for example, we have reverb from Russian company Bird Custom or Bird Custom, whatever. So, if you plan to use it all the time, well, this is really okay if you plug this pedal right into the FX loop, get it on and play it all the time. But if this is kind of delay, phaser, or any kind of your creativeness, typically you have some parts of the song that you plays with it and parts of the song that you plays without. So, first of all, a bright flash in our conscience is to place this pedal right into pedal board and plug two cables, 20 feet on one side and 20 feet in other side. It's a 6 meters and a 6 meters, 12 meters in a sum. Definitely there is a way that your pedal already has a buffer inside of it. Means that it has an low impedance output, and maybe your amp's FX loop has an buffer inside of it. Then you will have no frequency loss, but you will take all the noises and interference out of the stage. Well, for example, this amp does not have a buffer, inside of it. So in the manual you could find that more than 3 meters of a cable could bring you a signal degradation. This is a pretty scary word, degradation, right from the manual. So noises, from my side, is the more ridiculous thing than a frequency loss that you easily can compensate with your tone knob or treble or any kind. In my honest opinion, this is not really the best idea to add 12 meters right in the fixed loop. You can find a similar gear in a rack. You can control them through the MIDI, but they're really big and heavy and just 8 times more expensive. Yes, it has more than 2 loops, like a 6 or 8 or 12, any kind of, but do you really need this? This little pedal requires regular 12 volts power supply. Any kind of cheap Chinese sheet will do the trick. So it has two loops in here. So I got reverb and a fuzz. A fuzz that plugged into an amp's effects loop is a really interesting way. So, and the main path that you plug into effects loop of an amp, like signal flows from the preamp of an amp, then comes right into the pedal, from the pedal get back to an amp. It's like both loops are off, and two loops we have in that tiny pedal. We have plugged fuzz in a first loop, and a second loop is for reverb. We can engage the first, the second, or the second and the first both. For this device, loops are in series. As a foot switch, we plugged a Stiletto foot switch from that amp. This is a Mesa Boogie Stiletto Stage 2. This is a regular TRS connector in here. Well, it's like shortening tip to ground or ring to ground. Ring or sleeve. So we can check here, like we're engaging one, and immediately there is a LED got flashed. You may put it on, off, and so on. Pedals should be engaged, because when we turn on the loop, the pedal should be engaged already. And about the settings, we will talk about later. Just bring your side again that both of these pedals, the reverb and the fuzz, are made in Russia. And the reverb has one more effects loop inside of it. Smells like loop celebration evening today, isn't it? So you can plug any kind of pedal into this loop, like a delay in a loop of reverb if you have really strong psychedelic education. You may plug in fuzz, but we already have some fuzz in this review, so I got some green Maxon OD808 overdrive. Really, I don't know what to expect, so it's really interesting to try. We are in a mid-gain of an amp, a regular sounding of an amp, just to get the idea without any muffling or obscure artifacts of high gain. so we can easily check what is going on. Just remind to you, my friends, that any kind of tube amp you may use with a load only with a load. It can be a speaker cabinet, but today, as usual, we have AMT, power heater, reactive load box. I've scheduled some really interesting review, so stay tuned. Don't forget to check impedance, like 8 ohms into 8 ohms, or if you have 16 ohms into 16 ohms. If you are coupling cabinets, check the manual. Always check the manual before plugging load into your tube amp. And then the signal flows right into audio interface, where I've got some impulses. So got my guitar now. Now let's try the sound of an amp, just an amp without any effects or effects loop. We're right about Rockway mid-gain. Just to get the questions down. We don't have super high gain in here, just a regular rock mid-gain sound. So, what do we have here? First of all, let's roll off volume on a guitar and play some soulful reverbed sounds. And you could easily check that the pedal wasn't engaged at all. At all. Now we get it. Put it off. Sounds good. If we are here, try this pedal. Let's check the knobs, settings. This is a neck pickup. Roll back volume a bit to make it more obvious. Three main knobs. A dwell. This isn't a joke. Dwell, mix, and a tone. We all understand what mix means. This is a straight signal mixed with a reverb. Nothing in here. Otherwise, original signal is not being vanished. It's not like pure 100% reverb mix to plug it in a parallel loops. But whatever. So, in the middle. Well, you can get it as a room size. And tone. It's a pretty important thing that should be in all kind of pedals. It's like a presence, how brightly you sit into a mix, how many reverb dominations should be in a mix. A touch of ambience in here. Put it on. We can do some tricks in here. Here to the right, to the left, on solver, repatch and reset. It's pretty much versatile reverb. And what will going on if we switch the mode knob and make volume up? Alright, let's try the fuzz. I'm in a clean channel of an amp. Let's try it. And try to engage the fuzz. All the way up. but we are in a FX loop mode. The fuzz is plugged into an FX loop. It's pretty unusual. If you want to plug this fuzz in a regular style in an input of an amp, the sound will be pretty much different. I've switched an amp to a mid-gain mode. So what is gonna like to be fuzzed? You could think that it's really sophisticated. 100 cents, 5,000 returns, loops of any kind, but it's really simple. There is a loop in your amp that now, using this gear, could be controlled through a foot switch, the regular one or any kind. There is no difference in the cable length. You have two loops in here. The first and the second, they are in series. First one a fuzz, a second one a reverb. Both of them are made in Russia. By the way, BJ Looper made in Russia also. Maxon OD808 has been plugged into an additional effects loop of reverb. This isn't pretty much simple, but this is how it is. We did it just to overloop our evening. Any kind of TRS foot switch will do the trick with this piece of gear. You may ask, how can I control an amp if this switch is already used? That's a silly question, man. Just take another one foot switch and plug it to an amp, or plug another foot switch to this piece of gear and use the original foot switch to the amp, like a stiletto to stiletto. Try to never forget to use load with your amp, any kind of load, you know, a cabinet with the speakers, reactive load or resistive load, any kind of speaker with your tube amp. Without any load, your amp probably, and this is for sure, could be damaged. So got my finger back to the package. Wish you a good luck in your gigs, at your studio patch development battles. No noise, no clicks, no farts. Till the next time.